Okay. So, before we begin, I would like to ask you to take a moment and maybe think about your child, and if you could share that one behavior which you find the most challenging to understand or to deal with.
So, Pranjali, if you ask me, I think something that I would say is that the need for constant movement or constantly needing to, I would say, like, also if we're, let's say, just talking or something, she would constantly need to fidget or hold something or, sort of like hold on or grab onto something while talking. And the other thing is the sensitivity to sounds. If there are sounds which are too loud, she does go ahead and wants to cover up her ears. So yeah.
Okay. Anyone else would like to share? You can feel free to share any concerns, any behavior. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. I can see that already there are concerns around movement, like constantly on the move, or sensitivities to certain sensory inputs. So, these behaviors can be better understood if we try to look beyond them and we try to understand why these behaviors are occurring. So that's exactly what we are going to look at today. Not just identify the behaviors, but also try to see what what are those behaviors trying to communicate, understand the needs or the reasons behind those behaviors, and how do we respond to them in an effective way. So let's just get started by seeing what the behavior tries to tell us. Okay. So, behavior is a clue. So, let's look at behavior and let's compare it to an iceberg. So, let's consider that a behavior which we see is like the tip of an iceberg, the part of an iceberg which is above the surface of the water and which is very much visible to us. But let's just understand that that behavior is only a small part of your child is actually experiencing. So beneath the surface there are sensory needs, there could be anxiety, there could be sensory overload or difficulty regulating, or it could be just a combination of all these factors that is causing the behavior. So it is much, behavior tells us that there's much more to what we are not able to see, and it's like telling us the invisible, a lot about the invisible sensory experience. So let's just start by shifting our perspective from how do I stop the behavior to actually trying to understand that what this behavior is telling me. Now, the first and foremost thing is how do we spot the signs? How do we spot the behaviors? So we see that most of the behaviors are often seen in four areas. First would be attention. Second is emotion. Third is movement, and fourth is participation. So, for example, especially children who are younger in age or children who are have difficulty communicating what they feel or what they're experiencing, they often show what they are experiencing through their behavior. So that is their way of communicating to us what they are feeling or what they are experiencing. So these are the four common areas where we'll be able to see the change in or what they are trying to communicate to us. So for example, if the child is feeling sensory overload or feeling extremely overwhelmed, the child might suddenly just withdraw from a task, or just suddenly might stop participating in a task. So that is a sign that the child is not able to cope with the sensory input. Other example, let's say if a child is not able to regulate himself, he will constantly try to move around the room, or constantly try to seek that movement input in that particular situation. So we think that the child is not being attentive, or child is not, wants to try to is just trying to avoid the task, but it's actually is the movement need behind that behavior. So they often show us through their behavior before they can actually tell us or communicate us. Now, now that we have looked beyond the behavior, next question is, what are the signs we should be looking for? Now, many kids or many sensory related behaviors often fall into two broader categories. One would be children who feel overwhelmed by sensory input, and the other commonly seen pattern would be children trying to actively seek for more sensory input. Now, let's talk first about what are the signs of getting overwhelmed. So, sensory overwhelm is like a situation where the sensory input is much more than the child can actually cope with, or the child can actually process. So you'll see signs like they're trying to cover their ears, they're trying to avoid certain textures or certain sounds. They become easily irritable due to when in certain situations they become upset when having a haircut or while they are grooming themselves. So or sometimes there's, at one moment the child is fine and suddenly there comes a meltdown out of nowhere. So it is just that the environment may be more demanding or too demanding for the child, and it goes beyond the capacity where they can comfortably process that sensory input. Now, this overwhelm does not happen like suddenly. There's always it has been building up over time. So the child has been coping, but then suddenly their system reaches a point where it can no longer handle, and that's where we see a sudden meltdown in the behavior. So these are some signs which show us that a child is overwhelmed. Now, the other part of it is completely opposite, where you see that the child is constantly moving, he's trying to jump, crash, constantly spin around. He would be mouthing objects which are non-edible, or seeking very rough play and touching everything around. So these are some signs where your child is actively trying to seek more sensory input, because that input helps them regulate and organize their body. So unless they don't get that input because their system needs it, you might feel that your child is very dysregulated, or not being able to attend to a task, or it bothers them. So these are some signs where your child shows that he needs more sensory input. Now, there's one important thing we need to consider, or we need to remember, that uh, one particular behavior does not always mean that that does not always have the same meaning. So let's consider a child is running around the room. Now there could be multiple reasons why this child is doing so. So it one reason could be he's trying to seek movement. It could be because he's trying to avoid a task because that task feels too overwhelming for him, or it could be just that the child is excited. So that's why the context in which that behavior is occurring really matters. So that's why we don't always like identify the behavior or see the behavior only in isolation. We always try to see why the behavior is happening, when the behavior is happening, what exactly happened before or after the behavior. That helps us understand the pattern in in what situations that behavior is occurring. So that's why looking beyond the behavior and also considering the other environmental factors is very important. Okay. Now we have learned like how to look beyond the behavior, but now like what information we have, like behavior is the information we have. Now let's see how to look at it through a sensory lens. Like let's understand and connect it to the underlying sensory needs, because that whole perspective of looking at it differently is going to also decide or also guide how we respond to that behavior. So let's say, for example, if your child is not sitting still while doing their homework, so instead of saying that your child is misbehaving or he does not want to do homework, let's just change our perspective and consider that your child might be needing movement to stay regulated. Another example wherein your child is constantly like mouthing objects, so instead of calling it a bad habit, just consider that your child might be seeking that oral sensory input. So that's how, when we understand the reason behind that behavior, we try to find the why behind that behavior. That's how we can respond to that behavior more effectively. Now, sensory needs not just affect one particular part of your child's life. Sensory differences can influence many daily activities like dressing, meal times, participation in school, classrooms, play activities. It can also influence your child's emotions, like they can get easily frustrated, they could have emotional meltdowns or anxiety. So these are some areas where your child's sensory processing can influence their daily life. Now, also, there's one important uh, tangent to it where we need to understand that every behavior is not sensory. It sometimes could be because of some medical discomfort, or sometimes the task is like genuinely too difficult for your child to be able to complete, or it could be just merely a difficulty where they are, like not able to communicate. So of course, sensory processing is one important piece of that puzzle. So we should definitely try considering that aspect of it, but sometimes it just could be because of any other reason and not because of the sensory needs. Now let's look at a simple framework which we can use in a situation in a very where your child is showing a very challenging behavior. So this is something very simple and it can be applied to any challenging behavior your child might be showing. So there are three primary steps to this. First is pause and observe. Just try to understand what just happened before that behavior. What was there any trigger, was there any environmental aspect which caused that behavior? Is what is your child exactly trying to do, and is there any pattern which you are able to trace, which has led to this behavior? So second step is understand. Like now we know that this behavior is happened, and now you have observed this behavior. The second step to it is trying to relate it to a possible sensory need your child is trying to fulfill. So just try to see if your child is too overwhelmed, if your child is trying to seek some sensory input, or if your child is just tired or or is having or facing fatigue. So that is the second part of it, where you're trying to understand the reason behind that behavior. And then when we do these first two steps, then we decide how to respond to this behavior thoughtfully and not react to it. You take your time, pause yourself, understand the need behind that behavior, and then we respond instead of reacting to that behavior, or just trying to feel that I just want to fix this behavior. Now, here are some practical strategies you can try at home. Now, I have divided the strategies not according to the sensory systems or according to the sensory processing patterns, but I have divided them into two most basic or most commonly seen situations which you can face at home. So, when you are when your child is going to face any challenging situations, what you can do is you try to prepare your child for what's coming. Make it predictable. Use visual schedules or simple routines for what's going to come up. You can use regular movement breaks and also reduce unexpected changes wherever possible. And during the moments of overwhelm, when your child is already overwhelmed, remember that that is not the time where you try to reason with them, or you try to expecting them to follow your instructions, because that is a moment where they need to feel calm and safe first before you expect them to engage with you or engage into some task. So that's the moment where you yourself stay calm and use a reassuring tone, because your state of mind can uh, can influence what the child is feeling. So that's why you yourself staying calm is very important. Then you try to reduce all the sensory demands, like whatever possible, wherever possible, you try to reduce the environmental demands on the child. So whether it is noise, whether it is clutter around them, or it could be just how you are talking to them, the amount of instructions you're trying to use with them. Also, you can offer them a quiet familiar space, which they could be a favorite corner of your child, so you can try offering them that. Also, give your child to regulate before expecting them to engage. So this is the most important thing, like before you during that overwhelming moment, you just try to regulate your child first, try to calm them down, and then you move on to like how do you solve that problem. Now,
Zainab has a question.
Yeah.
So do you want to address it right now, or would you like to talk about it later?
I'm not able to.
Yeah, I can read the question.
Yeah.
So it's my daughter while doing. Zainab, do you want to bring it up?
Yeah, sure. So Salonia, I don't know, for some reason I'm not able to like raise my hand here, so I just put it in the chat box. Pranjali, like I have when they give them homework, okay. So when my daughter, her name is Noor, so when she's like, let's say, sitting doing homework, and I always keep an eye out for these things that I know at times like it's like you have to do an entire page and it's really boring. And I keep an eye out on her, like I notice like, okay, slowly like she's sliding off the chair, there is like a lot of leg movement happening, and I realize like, okay, it's time to give her a break now. So what I do is like, I'm like, okay, no, I set a timer for her, and then there is a break and she's allowed to do whatever she likes in there. However, recently she was telling me that in school, however, they're not allowed to even shake a leg while they're doing the classwork, and there is like a punishment for it as well. So if the teacher catches you shaking a leg, you are told to sit on the floor. And I didn't tell her much because I really didn't know what to answer her. I was like, okay, so I'm just putting it out, like I don't know what to do at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something to do with the school and the teacher. Like they have to consider these issues, and they have to be inclusive about these things, wherein
Yeah.
if a certain child needs some kind of support, they
Exactly.
should be happy to provide that support, and they should, you know, be accommodating those things in, you know, in their regular curriculum or in their regular academics. So I mean, I don't know if I could just suggest you that you speak to
Yeah.
the class teacher personally, and just
Mhm.
you know, try to make her understand that these are like these are some issues that could be genuine, and they could
Yeah.
be you know, there are very simple things which how, you know, we can you know, tackle them, and how we can support them. So I
Yeah.
think I don't think there should be a problem, you know, or there's anything much they have to do in terms
Uh,
of helping
yeah,
them.
because I know she doesn't do it like as a way to distract herself or others around her. It
Yeah.
is just how she's processing things at that moment.
Yeah.
I have actually, okay, hold on. Yeah, sure, Saloni, I will try my best to get that done.
Yeah.
So, Saloni knows a little bit of the things that have happened in the past. So, the school does have an idea about certain things that cause her a lot of anxiety. Like there was something called as fun sheets and all of that. So they are aware, but I think maybe these smaller things, they are like, they don't consider it, and they just kind of look at it as something bad, like don't
Okay.
shake your leg and all of that. I'm like, okay, take your fine,
Just
noted.
mm, okay. Shall we move ahead? Okay. So now a very big misconception we have is that sensory you know, supporting sensory needs a lot of you know, big equipments or fancy activities, but it's actually not the case. In reality, you know, a lot of sensory rich experiences or sensory opportunities already do exist in your everyday life. So, you know, you can just try taking your child for an outdoor play. You can, you know, try some carrying heavy baskets or carrying heavy groceries. Also, you know, some basic but fun sensory play using dough or water or sand, also foam, some sensory textured activities like gardening, or you know, like just going to a park which involves climbing, running around, swinging. That itself is a very sensory rich experience. So here, just keep in mind that our goal is not to you know, just occupy our child with one after the other some sensory activity, but it's actually to provide some meaningful sensory experiences which your child actually needs, and that helps them better regulate and participate in their daily life. Now, so these were some like basic general strategies which could be applied to any kid. But then we also have to remember that there's not there's because every child is different and every child is experiencing their world differently. There is no one size fit all approach. So that's where professional help uh, can, you know, can be very valuable. So and because so then, you know, okay, some professionals like occupational therapists can actually help you understand your child's unique sensory profile. They partner with families, and they help work with families to provide some practical yet individualized strategies for your child, not just at home but in multiple contexts, like school, what you just shared, or it could be while they play with other kids, or it could be during self-care activities. So that's how they support sensory regulation and participation in daily life. Also, we try to empower parents, you know, so that they can better understand, because it's your child, and you understand and you know your child the best. So that's where OT can help in actually empowering the parents with the right amount of knowledge and right approach and strategies, where you can respond to your child's sensory needs in the best way possible. And that's how we work towards the meaningful goals which you wish for your child, or the activities which matter the most to your child, and improve their independence and participation in their daily life. Now, today's webinar was all about understanding your child's sensory needs. But if you'd like a deeper understanding of how the 8 sensory systems work, how the sensory processing issues are seen, and what patterns they usually appear. So here's a YouTube video we recently made, and you can find it on our YouTube channel, and then you can just go through it, because that video explains these concepts in a lot more depth, but yet in a very simple and practical way.